Priscilla Presley and her late daughter were more than just names in the tabloids. They were the center of a shocking legal storm that would grip the world, exposing secrets, family tensions, and a mystery no one could have anticipated. The world was caught off guard when news surfaced that Priscilla Presley, the iconic widow of Elvis Presley, had been accused in a bombshell lawsuit of ending the life of her adult daughter. The announcement landed like a thunderclap, dominating every major news outlet and social media platform. Headlines screamed accusations, fueling speculation and debate among fans, journalists, and legal experts alike. People who had admired Priscilla for decades, seeing her as a graceful figure who had maintained composure through life's ups and downs, suddenly found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about her. The story was gripping, scandalous, and uncomfortably intimate. The lawsuit emerged from an unexpected source, a distant relative who had largely remained out of the public eye. This relative claimed to possess intimate knowledge of the daughter's final days, alleging that Priscilla had intentionally withheld medical treatment at a critical moment. The allegations were severe and specific, suggesting that the decision to end life-sustaining care was deliberate and calculated. The public, already fascinated by the Presley legacy, found itself torn between disbelief and morbid curiosity. Could a mother, someone synonymous with elegance, love, and loyalty, be capable of such an act? As reporters scrambled to investigate, the layers of secrecy surrounding the family became immediately apparent. The daughter, though a member of one of the world's most famous families, had maintained a remarkably private life. Few people outside her immediate circle knew the extent of her struggles, which had included health complications, emotional turmoil, and strained relationships. The revelation that these private struggles had potentially culminated in a controversial medical decision shocked many. Some viewed the lawsuit as a desperate attempt to capitalize on tragedy, while others considered it a serious claim demanding justice. The initial court filings revealed that the alleged incident had occurred during a hospitalization that was largely kept out of the public eye. The timing of the lawsuit added to the drama. It came shortly after the daughter's death, raising questions about motives and timing. Legal experts were quick to point out that the case had the potential to drag the Presley name through years of litigation, with reputations and legacies at stake. Every line of the filing was dissected, every claim analyzed for credibility, and every possible motive considered. The reaction from the public was intense and immediate. Social media platforms flooded with commentary, ranging from outrage to sympathy. Some fans expressed disbelief, insisting that the accusations could not be true, while others speculated on hidden family conflicts, medical negligence, or even financial disputes as the driving force behind the lawsuit. The media spotlight on Priscilla intensified, and paparazzi staked out her home, capturing images of her guarded appearances and every subtle expression. In the midst of this chaos, a deeper narrative began to emerge. The case was no longer just about legal claims. It was about family, power, and the shadow that fame casts over personal lives. Questions arose about what was really known about the daughter's health, about decisions made in private, and about the pressures faced by a mother under the weight of a public legacy. As the lawsuit gained momentum, the world watched with bated breath, eager to uncover the truth behind what was already being called one of the most shocking celebrity legal battles in decades. As the lawsuit continued to dominate headlines, a clearer picture of the daughter's life began to emerge, revealing a story far more complicated than anyone had imagined. Despite being the child of one of the most famous couples in entertainment history, she had intentionally remained out of the spotlight, choosing a life that prioritized privacy over fame. To the outside world, she appeared as a quiet figure, occasionally seen at charity events or posting brief glimpses of her life on social media. Behind closed doors, however, her existence was marked by struggles that few could have anticipated. Friends and former aides spoke of a young woman who faced persistent health challenges, emotional instability, and the weight of expectations that came with her family name. Documents and testimonies uncovered during the lawsuit painted a picture of a home filled with tension. Family members described arguments and unspoken resentments, while medical professionals who had treated her noted the delicate nature of her condition. It became evident that she had endured a series of medical emergencies in recent years, each handled privately, with only select family members involved in decision-making. Some of these incidents were so severe that they required immediate intervention, yet little information had ever reached the public. This secrecy, once intended to protect her privacy, now fueled speculation and suspicion. One revelation that shocked investigators involved her legal affairs. Shortly before her hospitalization, she had made significant changes to her will, altering beneficiaries in ways that surprised even longtime family members. Some experts suggested these adjustments could provide a motive for outside parties to challenge the family, framing the lawsuit as more than a mere accusation of medical negligence. The sudden reorganization of her estate introduced questions about her relationships with extended family members, financial advisors, and those closest to her. Every detail became critical, from bank statements to personal letters, as investigators sought to reconstruct the chain of events leading to her death. As reporters and legal analysts dug deeper, they discovered that her private struggles were compounded by the intense pressure of her public identity. Even in moments meant to be personal, she was constantly under scrutiny. Media outlets often speculated on her life choices, and social media amplified every perceived mistake or moment of vulnerability. The lawsuit, some argued, was a reflection of this relentless attention, a high-stakes clash where family disputes, medical crises, and public perception collided. The emerging narrative suggested a family torn between love and fear, bound by ties that were both protective and suffocating. While some saw Priscilla as a mother making difficult choices under extraordinary circumstances, others questioned whether her decisions had been influenced by outside pressures. The daughter's life, once largely invisible to the public, now became the focal point of intense investigation and speculation. Each discovery, from private letters to medical records, added another layer of complexity, revealing a life filled with secrets, pain, and unspoken struggles. By the time the second chapter of the lawsuit unfolded, it was clear that this story was not just a legal battle, it was a glimpse into a hidden world where fame, family, and mortality intersected in ways no one could have predicted. The public watched, riveted, as the details of her private life slowly emerged, exposing the fragility and humanity behind a legacy that had long seemed untouchable. As the courtroom proceedings began, the complexity of the case became immediately apparent. The lawsuit had unleashed a flood of documents, emails, and medical records, each piece adding another layer to an already tangled story. Attorneys for the plaintiff claimed that the evidence pointed to deliberate choices by Priscilla Presley to withhold life-sustaining treatment, while the defense argued that every decision had been guided by medical advice and the daughter's own previously expressed wishes. The atmosphere inside the courtroom was tense, every document scrutinized for hidden meaning, every timeline analyzed for discrepancies. Medical experts called to testify provided a stark contrast of opinions. Some suggested that the timing of certain treatments had been critical, implying that delays could have worsened the daughter's condition. Others emphasized the unpredictability of her illness, noting that even the fastest interventions might not have changed the outcome. The conflicting testimonies left the jury in a delicate position, forced to weigh expert opinions against the intimate realities of family life. Even seasoned observers noted the unusual intensity of the case, with personal and medical details intersecting in ways rarely seen in celebrity lawsuits. Beyond the courtroom, investigators discovered troubling inconsistencies in the evidence presented. Certain emails and handwritten notes appeared to have been altered or forged, raising questions about the credibility of the lawsuit's claims. Forensic analysts were brought in to examine the documents, tracing digital footprints and handwriting patterns to uncover who might have manipulated the records. Each revelation added another layer of suspicion, suggesting that hidden actors may have been attempting to influence public perception and the legal outcome. The atmosphere surrounding the case grew increasingly charged as more secrets came to light. Family members who had previously stayed silent began providing statements, revealing tensions and unresolved disputes that had simmered for years. Some testimonies depicted a household under strain where decisions were made in isolation and miscommunications had become common. Other statements hinted at long-standing rivalries over finances, inheritance, and control of the family's public image. These revelations complicated the narrative, blurring the lines between legal wrongdoing and private family conflict. As the trial progressed, the public became deeply invested in every detail. Media coverage intensified, with commentators dissecting every court session, every piece of evidence, and every facial expression of those involved. Social media erupted with speculation, and fan communities divided over whether Priscilla could have been capable of the alleged actions. The story took on a life of its own, evolving beyond the courtroom into a cultural phenomenon that raised questions about fame, privacy, and the lengths people might go to protect or exploit a family legacy. Amid the swirl of evidence, testimony, and media attention, one thing became clear: the case was far from straightforward. Every piece of information seemed to carry double meanings, every revelation introduced new mysteries, and every witness added both clarity and confusion. The lawsuit was no longer just a legal dispute, it had become a complex puzzle, a story of trust, betrayal, and secrecy that left observers questioning not only what had happened, but what they could truly know about those involved. The courtroom drama continued to unfold, each day bringing new surprises that threatened to change the narrative in ways no one could predict. As the trial reached its most critical phase, an unexpected discovery shifted the course of the case entirely. Among stacks of evidence, a hidden diary belonging to the daughter emerged, its existence previously unknown even to close family members. The diary contained intimate thoughts, fears, and reflections, offering a glimpse into a life that had been carefully shielded from the public eye. Its pages revealed a young woman struggling with a complex illness, one that had left her physically fragile and emotionally vulnerable. The diary painted a picture of someone acutely aware of her own mortality, someone who had wrestled with the realities of her condition in silence. The entries suggested that the daughter had, on multiple occasions, expressed wishes regarding her medical care, decisions that were deeply personal and often difficult for her family to interpret. Medical experts reviewed the diary alongside treatment records and concluded that the decisions made by Priscilla may have been consistent with her daughter's own desires. This revelation introduced a dramatic twist. The mother, accused of withholding life-saving treatment, might instead have been respecting the wishes of her daughter in a profoundly painful and complex situation. Investigators also uncovered letters and private notes exchanged between the daughter and trusted friends, revealing a network of confidants who had been aware of her fragile health. These documents highlighted the daughter's awareness of potential crises and her careful, sometimes cryptic, instructions regarding her care. Some passages hinted at long-standing concerns about family dynamics, expressing fears of misunderstandings or conflicts after her passing. This evidence complicated the narrative, suggesting that the lawsuit might have been fueled by assumptions rather than facts, and that the daughter's own intentions had been overlooked in the initial public frenzy. As the diary and letters were analyzed, deeper family secrets began to surface. Financial disputes, long-standing grievances, and personal rivalries emerged from the shadows, revealing a household marked by both devotion and tension. Friends and former aides described a family trying to navigate impossible circumstances, caught between loyalty, love, and the pressures of public scrutiny. While some witnesses painted Priscilla as a stern, decisive figure, others depicted her as a mother caught in a tragic moral dilemma, forced to make life-altering choices under immense stress and public attention. The courtroom atmosphere shifted as these revelations were presented. The narrative that had once painted Priscilla as a calculated decision-maker now became more nuanced, exploring themes of grief, morality, and the painful responsibilities of parenthood. Observers began to see the lawsuit not simply as an accusation of wrongdoing, but as a window into a family struggling with secrets, illness, and the pressures of fame. The story evolved into a broader meditation on how private lives can be distorted by public assumptions and how tragedy can be complicated by miscommunication and conflicting perspectives. By the time the fourth chapter of the trial concluded, it was evident that the case was far more than a legal dispute. It was a story of hidden lives, unspoken fears, and the delicate balance between honoring personal wishes and making critical decisions under pressure. The diary and letters provided an unprecedented glimpse into the daughter's mind, reshaping the narrative and challenging the initial assumptions that had gripped the nation. The courtroom drama now stood as a testament to the complexity of family, the fragility of life, and the enduring mystery of what truly happens behind closed doors. After months of intense investigation, testimony, and public scrutiny, the courtroom finally moved toward a resolution. The jury faced a task heavier than most legal cases, determining the truth behind a situation tangled with grief, secrecy, and conflicting narratives. Every piece of evidence had been examined, from medical records to personal diaries, emails, and letters. Each item told part of a story, but none told the entire truth on its own. The court had become a stage where family dynamics, public perception, and the harsh realities of illness collided in ways no one could have predicted. The trial's final days were filled with tension. Expert witnesses summarized complex medical details, highlighting both the severity of the daughter's condition and the challenging decisions her mother had faced. Legal teams reviewed timelines, communications, and financial documents, trying to untangle motives and responsibility. Outside the courtroom, media coverage intensified, with commentators and fans dissecting every nuance, while social media platforms buzzed with speculation. It seemed that no detail was too small, no statement too private to escape public scrutiny. When the jury finally delivered its verdict, the courtroom was silent, the outcome suspended in a collective breath. The court ruled that there was insufficient evidence to prove that Priscilla Presley had intentionally caused harm. While the lawsuit raised serious questions about decisions made during a medical crisis, it ultimately could not demonstrate that Priscilla had acted with malice or negligence. The verdict ended the formal legal proceedings, but it did not erase the intense scrutiny and public debate that had accompanied the case from the very beginning. In the aftermath, Priscilla's life returned to a quieter rhythm, but the events of the trial left an indelible mark. The daughter's life, once shrouded in privacy, had been examined under the harshest public lens, revealing struggles, fears, and personal choices that had previously been unknown. For many, the trial highlighted the extraordinary challenges of navigating private decisions while living under the glare of fame. Friends and former aides reflected on the difficult position Priscilla had been placed in, balancing love, duty, and grief amid unprecedented attention. The broader public, meanwhile, grappled with the lessons the case left behind. It became clear that high-profile families often face pressures that are invisible to outsiders, where misunderstandings can spiral into public spectacle. The lawsuit was no longer just a story of accusation. It was a narrative about human complexity, the fragility of life, and the ways private tragedies can be magnified by fame and media attention. People began to reconsider initial assumptions, recognizing that the truth is rarely simple and that decisions made in moments of crisis are often far more complicated than they appear. In the end, the case left a legacy of caution, reflection, and unresolved emotion. It served as a stark reminder that fame does not shield families from hardship, and that even the most iconic lives can be haunted by tragedy and misperception. The daughter's story, once hidden, became a testament to the challenges of navigating illness, secrecy, and expectation. Priscilla Presley emerged from the storm legally vindicated, but the emotional and cultural impact of the trial lingered. It was a story that captivated the world not just for its scandal, but for its deeply human dimensions, a story of love, loss, and the enduring complexity of family life under extraordinary circumstances.